a team morale standpoint.
Ethan, the one thing about kids these days is they're resilient. I mean, I think they were disappointed in it being a lost period, regardless of opponent. They don't like to lose, but they do move on pretty fast. In this case, they specifically had to because we had finals starting on Monday. So we've only had one practice. It was yesterday. They were great. I think they're very relieved. You know, finals are about to be over. This is the absolute best time of the year to be a college athlete because it's the closest you're going to get to feeling like a pro before you are a pro because you don't have class. You can focus on your sport. We had two good film sessions, some individual film sessions. It was really easy to identify, some things that could have helped us win that game on Sunday. So I think we learned from them, carried them over to yesterday. We'll see a little bit more today and how we do these next four games. But, one of the things we talked about, in all of life, there's always two kinds of pains, one that hurts and one that changes you. That one kind of hurt both ways. It hurt us, and I think it'll change us so for the better. And it's fine. We challenge the kids with all those in-state opponents, and everybody get up for it, and then challenge them by putting it right before finals. All of those things are strategic to test us to see how we're going to respond to adversity. We don't ever shy away from creating adversity for our kids, and we had some. So I'm anxious to see, just like everybody else, how we respond next time we play. But I know they're ready to get off the court. They are all saying they wish we would have had a game a little sooner, so they could have moved on a little faster. But we'll get that chance on Saturday.
Yeah, then just asking a little bit about Samford. I know they last played Alabama, which at Media Day, a lot of Alabama's players call y'all, the look-alike in the conference. Is there anything maybe from watching film of that game that you kind of picked up on that you think of Samford?
That you better be ready to play. That was a 7-point game. Do not look at the final score, Brett and Matt. The final score ends up 30, but it was a 7-point game at the going into the fourth quarter. Kind of got away from them a little bit in the fourth, but again, you got some transfers from high level schools. You got another SEC post player down there. You got Peyton Pritchard's sister, who I recruited when I was at Washington. I can't believe she's still in college, but that's the way it is these days with COVID. I watched her play a bunch when I was in Seattle, and she was down in Oregon. It's a good team. Our kids, I don't think our kids, I know our kids did not overlook a Pine Bluff. They're not going to overlook Samford. So they've got their attention. They're easy. They've got two great shooters. Our kids recognize talent when they see it. They can look at those numbers and see they got two kids shooting almost 50% from the 3-point line. They know what that looks like. To do that, it's incredible. So I think with them having played Alabama, who, like you said, people a lot of times think that we have a lot of similarities. I think that particular game being that close will certainly have our kids' attention because it's not really a true home game. It's in our home state, but we're not any more used to shooting on those rims than they are. Traditionally, we played very well down there. I hope that continues. We always have great support. So Samford has got our attention. They would have had our attention either way, but I think coming off a loss, maybe more particular focus than normal could be expected.
Yeah, I have a few more, but we have a full crowd, so I'll
Yeah,
wait.
no problem. We don't have practice till 1, so I'll stick around as long as you need me.
All right, Bob, it's your turn.
Okay. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Bob. You?
I'm good. Hey, I'm working on something on, there's been a lot of I guess, frustration or consternation, whatever you want to call it, that the games in North Little Rock haven't been available to stream. And this year that's changing. And just wondering what you think about that.
I think any chance that a Razorback fan gets to watch our game is for the good. I don't know. Honestly, didn't know there was consternation. I'll have to look that word up, I think, after we're done, Bob, but I think it means concern. I guess it was probably over not being able to get a ticket. I know the men's game's a hard ticket because I had a lot of people reach out to me and say, hey, can you get me tickets to the men's game? And I said, I'll do my best. You can't get them. Like it's a hard ticket down there. So I'm sure the people wanted to be able to see it and couldn't because of the streaming. Somebody said it was because technology maybe in the building, and I guess they've got that upgraded. Would be my guess. You can upgrade technology pretty quick these days. They've upgraded their sound system in there. I go to a lot of concerts down there, so they've made a lot of good upgrades in their sound. So I'm guessing they probably made a update in their Wi-Fi or I hope they got their shot clocks working, and the clock's working. We've tended to have some issues with those, but I think it's great we can stream it. I know my mom and dad will be happy because they can come to our game and get back home in time to Greenwood to watch the men's game. They'll be fired up. They
Well,
love
yeah.
the Hogs.
Yeah, I think beyond, ticket availability, it's just, people want to be able, if they live in California, they can watch all the
Sure.
Hawk games, except they could never see the game in Central Arkansas, or if they, live up here and maybe can't make the trip to Little Rock or North Little Rock, I think, yeah, and I don't think it was the arena's fault. They got some kind of new gizmo that, and I think ESPN worked with them and the SEC network. But yeah, I think it's just people just thought, well, gosh, you can see 30 games, streaming or on TV, and you can't see the one. And also I think this will help with baseball too. But yeah, I think it's just the fact that people can, the game's available. And of course, they get to listen to Matt. I understand Matt's doing the color and Brett's doing the play-by-play for both games, I think. So
do we have to address him as like Razorback, like voice of Arkansas, any up for some award? Am I going to have to start referring to Matt with some title before everything?
Yeah, he's
Just
actually
call me sir. Just say sir, yes sir, no sir. That'd be
I've
good.
been doing that already because you're my elder. But
yeah,
I
he's
have a few names you can use for him.
Yeah, he's a finalist for Arkansas.
Yeah, that's it.
Broadcast for the year. Yeah,
I think this, Bob. I think it's awesome that we can get them all on there. But again, you're talking to the guy that used to have to avoid this Mike Irwin giving the score at 10:30, so I could watch the game's tape delayed on channels on the news when I was a kid. So the fact that when they were getting 29 out of 30 or 30 out of 31, I don't know. It's kind of just today's society that we're going to complain a little bit about everything, but I'm glad they got it fixed and we got some fans across and parents. I think it's big for recruiting too. We're recruiting. We got kids that we tell us to watch and they may be home for the holidays and this is their only chance to watch. So again, with technology where it's at today, not being able to watch something live, it's head scratching for all of us because there's so much stuff out there that is live that I don't want to watch. I'm getting sick of pickleball already, and it's a great sport. And I don't degrade anybody that plays it, but it's not taking me long to not love that I'd rather watch poker, I think, than pickleball, but I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Hey, I'm interested to read what you come up with because I want to know what the issue's been. So I'll be looking for your piece.
Okay. We always appreciate that.
All right.
All right, Daniel.
Hi, Coach. We talked about it after the game that you hadn't had a chance to see the film or kind of diagnose what had happened, but I'm wondering if you've had a chance to look and if there are any similarities between what was happening early in the season and now. Or
no, there were different reasons. Like I thought that night, the leads that we lost were normally personnel decisions that I had made, lineups I had put together that we hadn't worked on much. Our issue the other night was effort. When you break it down and you look at it, we were straight legged. We were flat footed on rebounds. We were slow to rebounds. I looked at all the measurable numbers on our connects on devices. We should not have been tired. We played tired. It would be an excuse to say that we were tired going into finals. It's a fact. We were going into finals. That is a fact, but it shouldn't have been a factor. We just got outplayed. They wanted it. They had a lot to play for. We were maybe, I don't know. I heard John Calipari say it one time. We were a little bit arrogant, I think, maybe at times that, hey, we just beat Florida State. We're going to beat everybody we play now. And that's a valuable lesson to learn. All teams learn them some way or the other. Some teams don't always lose to have to learn it, but there were 22 clips that just jumped off the computer screen at you. Anybody could have picked it out. It wouldn't have taken a basketball coach. Any fan that was frustrated with us, anybody that they were justified. We were pretty bad for 22 possessions. And in a game that is decided by one or two possessions, 22 is way too many. And they were easy. They were obvious. They were fixable. We pointed to those 22 and it was really about, it was a core group of our 4 kids that took the brunt of the film session. And I think they took it well. We'll see if they can translate it, but I feared it was probably effort. I didn't say it the other night because I didn't want to not be right. I didn't want to have facts. I tell my kids all the time, facts and film. I didn't want to speak to y'all after that when I was emotional and not have the facts in the film. Now I got them. We just didn't play hard enough for enough possessions. And that comes down to us in preparation and what I'll tolerate. And my toleration level got a little bit lower for lack of effort. So it'll show up in practice and may show up in rotations. I don't know. I'm going to give those kids a chance to respond. I think y'all all know me well enough on here. I'm not a big fire everybody guy. After a bad performance or a bad moment, I give you a chance to rectify it and point it out, and we speak truth to each other. And if they can fix it, then that'll be great. That's what this game's about. Going back to what we said at the beginning, I think this is the time of the year that teams use this month to not have class and really focus on basketball. And the teams that utilize it best probably make the most headway. And that's what we're going to try to do. Changing a few things tactically, changing a few strategies, but not overall philosophy or personnel. You'll see the same starting five, and they'll get a chance to fix their problems and play out of their mistakes and learn from them and try not to make the same ones again.
You only played, I think, 7 people in the game. Just how's the injury report coming along, and is that something that you have to do in the near future at least?
No, I don't think so. We should get Emery back. We got some good news on her. She probably won't be back for the Samford game. I'm not ruling her out completely, but probably less likely for that game, but very probable for the Illinois game down in West Palm. Sam's nose was not broken, so she won't have to fight with that mask throughout the game like she was having to at the end of the game. And then Talia's knee knock at the end of the game when she went knee to knee with that kid on that last shot. It was just a bump. It wasn't a twist or a turn or anything like that. So nothing that is requiring anything other than just a little bit of ice and some soreness. So we should be back to, I don't know that changes our number necessarily. I would tell you that matchup wise, looking at Samford, it's a better matchup for Jenna and Christina and Carly Keats. So I think our bench would be a little bit more available Sunday than probably what I utilized on last Sunday. Or on Saturday, Saturday against Samford than what I did on Sunday against UAPB.
Thanks, Coach.
You got it.
Dudley?
Coach, is there also an element to where y'all were favored, and even their coach Don mentioned have so's and have nots. Was there an element to pressure going down the stretch and maybe they were playing with an urgency to win, and y'all were playing not to lose because y'all were not supposed to?
1,000,000%. Infinity percent, whatever number you want to put on it, Dudley. You're in the game enough to know that in today's, and I mean today, I don't mean yesterday, I mean today, it changes every single day for our kids. Winning doesn't feel as good as it used to. It's more of a relief. Like you beat Florida State, and you want to celebrate, you want to be happy, but it's almost like this relief. Because you don't have to, because you get to check Twitter. Nobody wanted to check Twitter the other day because they knew exactly what it was going to be. It's predictable. So, yeah, that pressure's there. I feel it. And if I'm feeling it, I know a 17-year-old kid feels it. They got to listen to and read people that have 1% of the information, make assertions about them. That's no fun. So, yeah, I have no doubt that had a lot to do with it. I don't know what she meant by haves and have-nots, but she's got some pretty good haves, too. She's got some pretty good players that have had.
I think she was just talking about budget-wise.
Yeah, that I've been on both sides of that. And, yes, it probably gives you a little bit more. I think what made them play well was they were playing well. I think that's where their excitement and energy came from. They started making shots. When we got up 10, they didn't quit. When they got Merriam in foul trouble, you go back and going kind of back to what Daniel said, you look at that film, what we look like with Merriam versus what we look like without her. It wasn't good. So, but yeah, no, I agree with Don. Yeah, they did play. They played loose. They played confident. And yeah, we got a little tight because, were you in the building or were you just watching it?
I was watching from home.
No, you could feel it. I mean, we sense it. We know. And it's part of what we have to deal with. But no, you're pick a number, infinity percent right, that you start thinking about it. 2 minutes to go, 3 minutes to go. Like, Sailor hits that three and get back in. You're like, okay, maybe this is it. And then they go down, we get a stop, and they kick out and hit a three. And I promise you, one of the first things that entered my head was, what am I going to say to Phil on the radio here? And if we can't find a way to score 5 points in the next 12 seconds. So it's reality. I think we're getting better at coping with it and dealing with it. It's not fair. That's okay. Not everything is. But yeah, it factors in. And it's not an excuse. And I'm not sitting here saying that people aren't, they can go do what they want to do, but it does make things harder for our kids and for us. It's not making it any easier. It makes it harder. So, but we did learn something from it. There's no doubt. So, and I think that's the key part.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it.
All right, Ethan, go ahead.
Yeah, just maybe I overlooked her or something, but I know it's just a really hard time for Sasha right now, and don't think I've seen her at the games, your recent ones. Is she just kind of taking some time completely away?
Yes. Yeah. She's not able to do what she did last year and still come around and sit on the bench and come to practice. She said that she wasn't going to make a big announcement, didn't really want us to. I told her we would have to address it, obviously, because people would start to not see her. And all she has ever said was that, this hit her back harder than it did the first time. And it took her a full year last time. So not to anticipate her changing her mind, or not mind, just changing the way she feels about how basketball affects her life anytime between now and the end of the season. So the door's still always open to her. She's still, part of what we do. I include her on every text message, and I told her I would until she told me to stop. And she hasn't told me to stop yet. I still send her our game patches. I still send her a pregame card that I write for her. But she's just not here physically right now. And I hate it for her, but I'm telling y'all, we've said it. A lot of people on this call, we said it. It's all over the country. It's happened y'all, I'm not naming names because it's not my business to name their names, but 4 people in our league that are doing it right now. There's one that was on a national game last night. If you're watching the Texas-Arizona game, there's another high-level player. We're starting to see some of the effects of what we all went through with COVID and social and all that stuff that we've been through in the last 5 years. Some of the results are starting to show up. And I'm not saying that's what Sasha's is, but I'm saying it's not only Sasha. There is a lot of, and maybe it happened used to in the past, we just didn't know about it, but we're talking about we're talking about the daily cost of doing business. Y'all think about what just happened yesterday. There were kids at shoot around, and I know this for a fact because it happened to one of my friends. They were at shoot around yesterday with a kid who's been setting out all year long because they're a double transfer. And because the team was out practicing, she had her phone over there on the side, and she was on Twitter and said, wait, there's been a rule change in the last hour. I can play tonight. And she went and got her practice gear on and practiced and played. Matt's laughing because, in what world does that ever happen, Matt? Never.
Crazy.
You had kids that were planning on setting out the entire year that got notified. I don't know how many happened in men's basketball, but I found 7 women's basketball players that when they woke up that morning had no idea that they were going to play that night. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I don't know what I'd have said to our kids. Do you really think it's a good idea to ramp up from not having practice for a game and now all of a sudden you're out there? I don't know. It changes every day. It changes now. And now I can't even say every day. It changed within the day for those kids. And again, maybe it's going to make us stronger people and make those kids stronger when they're my age, but I know I wouldn't have handled it very well as a 19 or a 20-year-old kid. So we're asking an awful lot of them. So I'm going to keep doing my best to protect every one of ours and help them the best I can through it, because it is literally changing now by the hour. And by the way, those kids that played last night, 2 weeks from now, might have to check their uniform back in, because some other judge may say, no, I agree, and they can't play yet. So there's going to be some people that play 3 or 4 games and then, I don't know. turn your stuff back in and you can't play again. But I don't know. Again, anybody that signs up for college athletics, you're in for a roller coaster. You don't like the merry-go-round and the Ferris wheel. So you signed up for this, strap in and hold on tight and do your best not to fall out.
And then last thing I have for you is just I want to talk about Michaela for a little bit. She's had a big role every single year that she's been on your team, but it's like that role has kind of changed every single year. With Dungy on your team, it's kind of similar to now with Talia, where there's just a big time scorer. How do you think she's adjusted, I guess, to all the different roles that have been thrown at her?
In total Mac fashion, just stoic. She's handled it. Okay, I got it. Okay, I got it. Okay, I got it. Give me a day or two. Give me a game or two. Give me a week or two. I got it. I have no doubt it comes from her upbringing with her mom and dad and her support system on how they've raised her to do whatever she can do to help that team. And that's why we were so lucky to get her, because of where we were at in our program. We knew we were going to be changing. I would have never predicted that she could have done what she has done, though. Again, you go back and you look at her impact on both sides of the ball. Kylie put out a deal about her, being the all-time leading point guard scorer. So she's a points guard now. She's officially graduated to a points guard, not a point guard. But she's always guarded the other team's best player for 5 years now, and their numbers are down. Our team is the most cohesive team we've had in her 5 years here, and that's largely responsible for her. The way that she handles the locker room, the way that she handles us coaching her, the way that she handles, when she talked about coming back, obviously it was a no-brainer. We wanted her to come back. You don't let that kind of leadership move on. Some kids after 4 years, maybe it's better for them to move on, but not Mac. We needed her. So I did tell her that, obviously we didn't anticipate her being here with Talia coming in. So she knew full well what was coming, and I have challenged her, and y'all can ask her about it. She's prepared to talk about it. But like I told her, her true legacy, like most people's, is how you leave something when you leave. How do you leave it? Did you leave it better than you found it? I don't think there's any question that we're going to have done that. Mac will have done that. And when this year wraps up, she left it better than she found it. And she's left it ready for Sam to, take over that leadership role and now start molding Talia into that. Talia has earned that respect in practice, and she's obviously earned it in her performance in games. And it's not an easy thing for anybody to have a freshman come in and impact a team that way, but they've handled it with a lot of grace and a lot of poise. We have our learning moments. Some of those things we saw on film were, missing each other. One person would drive it in and we'd miss somebody. Talia had 21 points in the second quarter. Am I right? Am I right about that, Matt? Y'all were watching. And we missed her we had her on a next pass and we missed her. Okay. So it's real easy for somebody to go, y'all are selfish. They didn't want her to. That's not true. They just didn't see her. But it can come off that way because people want it to be. Feels like that on the team. It doesn't feel like that in the locker room. Doesn't feel like that on the bus. But there's going to be people that want to try to make that the story, but they won't be able to, I don't think, with Mac leading us. So speaking directly back to Mac, I don't know how everybody will remember her, but anybody that's paid attention and is very objective has got to know that she's left it way better than she found it when she got here, and has really set the bar. I mean, she's up there in the talks of our great point guards, our Mount Rushmore point guards, with Amber and Amy Wright and maybe Callie Berna up there, Sierra Rickett. I mean, she's in that conversation of some of the better point guards that have ever played here.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Like that was similar to my question, so I want to follow up on that. When Talia gets going, it's really special to watch when she's scoring like that second quarter. How do the other four then maintain an offensive aggressiveness mindset when she's going, so that when their turn comes, it hasn't been 7 possessions since they've thought about trying to score?
Well, we didn't handle it because they made an adjustment at halftime. They said they were going to trap those ball screens and get it out of her hands, and we did not do that. So I don't know that we know the answer to it yet, Brett. That's something we got exposed on. We have to work at it. It's one of those feed the hot hands, or do you keep trying to let the game come to you? It's always a balance as a coach. But I think I think they are aware of it. I think they know that if somebody's hot, we always want to try to feed the hot hand, whether it was Talia or whether it was, Mac a couple of games ago. They look for each other. So it's probably something I've got to do a better job of making sure if that starts to happen again, that if there is an opportunity maybe to throw it inside or drive it, that we look at doing that, spread it out a little bit. But I think having overall team balance makes for the best teams. There's no question. You also need somebody that can get you a bucket when you need it, and that's what obviously Talia's got the ability to do. And when she gets going like she did, and I'll still tell y'all, we haven't seen it yet. I saw her go for 57 in a high school game in which she looked like that for the entire game. That was in a state semifinals too. It wasn't against, somebody that wasn't going to, win a game that year. It was in their state semifinals. So she's getting more and more comfortable. I think her turnovers will start to come down as she understands the things that you're talking about. And that when it is time, don't shoot yourself out of a hot streak too. Don't heat check it so much that you finish what you got started. Move that ball if it's not a shot that. But when you're on a heater, I've only been on one time in my life. And you don't think about it. You think about when's that ball going to find my hands again because it's my night. So it's a balance. I don't know what it looks like with her. We've only got to coach her for 14 games now, counting our exhibitions. But I know it's going to happen again. So we've got to get good at recognizing it because it's going to happen again.
I compare her to Dungy. Dungy would drive into the lane and throw up her hands and she'd get fouled and she'd go to the line. It feels like Talia's intent is to draw the foul, but then get the basket too. And sometimes some of those are missed because she's absorbing the contact before she shoots too. But it feels like she's even got a 3-point mentality when Dungy was just trying to get to the line a lot of times.
Yeah, a little bit different the ways they go about doing it. I think Chelsea started college with a pro body already. Like if you saw Chelsea in 8th grade, she had a professional frame. Talia's needs another year in the weight room and with our nutritionist. So she has to do things with a little more savvy. The make contact and separate, which she is so good at. She's still on pace to shatter Plum's single season makes record and career record if she did it for enough games. But she's almost double the pace on where Plum was at through 11 games on attempts and makes. So it's an unbelievable knack to have at that age because it takes some savvy and it usually takes experience. We get to send clips in to the officials after every game. We get to send 10 in, and the vast majority of them are on her getting fouled and them not calling it because she doesn't get knocked down. They're like, well, there was no displacement. I said, there was plenty of displacement. She just absorbed it and tried to play through it. And you didn't make and so I'll get a message back from the official that says, yeah, we probably should have called that one. I think those will add up as she gets a little bit more experience being officiated by our officials. She's hard to officiate in practice. I'll tell you that. She's not easy to grab a whistle and try to figure out in practice whether they're fouls or not. But different than Dungy, but equally as effective, except, and Dungy already has said it to me. So, Talia makes a few more than you don't expect her to miss more than one out of 10. I think she'll shoot 90% 1 year of her career here for a season. I really do. She very rarely misses in practice when we're shooting.
All right, Bob, you have a question?
Yeah, Mike said one more. Just what are your thoughts on taking your team down to a different part of the state?
I think it's vital for our recruiting, for our fans. When they made the rule, go back and look at what we did. When they made the rule for us to be able to play in-state, we've gone to every in-state opponent's home gym now except UCA, and we're actively trying to get that done. I think for women's basketball, this is not true for any other sport because I don't coach any other sport. I don't know. But our state is really good with high school basketball. Our coaches are very good. Grassroots programs are very good. I think we have to take our game on the road so they don't have to get all the way to Fayetteville to see our kids play. So I'm glad our administration supports it. There's a group of fans that reach out every year that aren't able to make it to Fayetteville. I love eating at some restaurants down there as well. So we're going to keep doing it as long as our administration will allow us to. But I think it's vital for the sport of high school girls basketball and Arkansas women's basketball to play there every year that we're able to. And we try to play every year. Like, we're not playing Little Rock, we'll schedule a game like this. If it's our year to play Coach Foley, we'll just go to the Stevens Center and play it there. But any year that we're playing them at home, we're going to try to find an opponent to play us in Little Rock. And the fact that it's worked out to be a doubleheader with the men, is it 4 straight years? I'd have to look. It feels like 4 straight years. It's been, is it not, Matt? 3, 2, 1?
Not last year.
Oh, never mind. We're starting a new streak.
Took 1 year off. Yeah, I had the 1
Starting
year.
a new streak. It's always cool. Like, the last couple of times I've been down there, we did that. Like, we would play and I'd go eat at Skinny J's and there'd be all the Razorback fans there. And we've been lucky enough to win there. So everybody liked me that day and would pat me on the back. And then I'd go back and watch the men's game as well. So I think it's a great atmosphere. I love that. I love playing in Little Rock.